Tragedy strikes at Rattlesnake Falls. Three hikers died after jumping into icy California waterfall to cool off. A heartbreaking tragedy unfolded when three hikers lost their lives after jumping into the freezing waters of Rattlesnake Falls, a remote waterfall in California's Placer County. What began as a hiking trip turned into a fatal incident that shocked the local community and outdoor enthusiasts alike. Let's get into the thick of it on this AI podcast.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into something that's a powerful reminder of nature's, well, deceptive beauty.
Mm-hmm.
It's the tragic incident at Rattlesnake Falls up in Northern California.
Yeah, a really tough one.
Three hikers, just looking for a moment of relief from the heat. They jumped into icy waters.
Yeah.
And they never resurfaced.
Just devastating.
It really is. A story that started with like a simple need for comfort and just ended in such profound tragedy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We're going to look at the full account of, that fateful day,
Right.
the huge challenges the rescuers faced, honoring the lives lost,
Absolutely.
and really critically pulling out the vital lessons here about nature's hidden dangers.
That's key.
Our mission really is to give you a comprehensive understanding of what went down, why it matters, and maybe some surprising things that came out of this.
Let's do it.
So it began as an escape, right? A pretty challenging trek into Northern California's backcountry.
Wild territory up there.
Yeah, 6 friends, colleagues actually, pushing miles into this dense forest near Soda Springs.
And the trail itself, officials later called it extremely remote and difficult to access.
Exactly. Miles in, they were looking for adventure, maybe just, a break from the heat.
Totally unaware of how quickly things could change.
Yeah, that one impulsive decision was about to turn their whole journey into just a profound tragedy.
And what's really striking here is how often the most beautiful spots in nature mask the biggest dangers.
Mm-hmm.
Rattlesnake Falls, for example. I mean, it's described as breathtakingly beautiful, right?
Gorgeous, yeah.
But it's also notorious for these intense currents and, crucially, frigid temperatures.
So it's a classic case then.
It really is a classic example of how our perception of beauty can kind of override our assessment of risk.
Makes sense.
People end up underestimating some truly severe dangers because it just looks so inviting.
And it was that inviting look, I suppose, even though perilous, that led to the fatal decision.
Seems so.
3 men from the group, Valentino Crias, he was 50, from L.A.,
Okay.
Dr. Matthew Schonecker, also 50, also from L.A.,
Right.
and Dr. Matthew Anthony, 44, from New York City. They decided, let's cool off, leapt into the water.
And gone.
They never resurfaced. The others, absolutely devastated, obviously fearing the worst.
I can't imagine.
They managed to contact local authorities shortly before 3 p.m.
And that call, that must have triggered a huge response.
Oh, immediately. A massive, large-scale rescue operation kicked off.
But the location.
Exactly. Rescuers faced just immense logistical and environmental hurdles right from the get-go. The terrain was incredibly challenging.
We mentioned remote.
We're talking about a grueling 3-hour hike
Wow, 3 hours.
just to reach the falls before they could even start the actual search or rescue.
Yeah, that really underscores the kind of coordination needed in these wilderness emergencies. It's
You
extraordinary.
had helicopters involved?
Oh, yeah. California Highway Patrol helicopters were dispatched,
Yeah.
not just for searching, but actually to extract the surviving hikers, too.
Right, get them out safely.
And Placer County Sheriff's Office, they were coordinating everything. Search and rescue teams, CL fires, technical units, experienced divers.
So a real multi-agency effort.
Absolutely. An all-hands-on-deck situation, bringing together all these specialized teams in extremely tough conditions.
And despite that huge effort, the search itself was significantly hampered.
The weather turned, right?
Yeah, really adverse conditions, strong winds, terrible underwater visibility, and those dangerous currents we mentioned.
Awful combination.
It got so bad they actually had to suspend dive operations on Thursday and Friday.
And that suspension, it wasn't just about delaying the search.
No.
Those conditions posed direct, serious threats to the rescue teams themselves.
Right, to the divers.
Officials were very clear about it. The waterfall's icy temperatures, fed by that snowmelt.
Even in summer.
Exactly. It presented severe risks not just to anyone in the water, but specifically to the highly trained divers trying to make the recovery.
Just a treacherous environment all around.
Truly, for everyone involved.
But then, by Sunday, things started to look up a bit.
Yeah, the conditions finally improved.
And this allowed for a renewed push in the search.
Definitely. There was this renewed determination, especially from a local diver, Juan Heredia, and his fellow rescuer, Josh Robinson.
Ah, Heredia. He actually shared some details about their efforts later, didn't he?
He did, yeah. In a really poignant Facebook post, he described the whole thing.
What did he say? I remember seeing something about the hike.
He wrote, "We hiked over 3 hours just to get to that 47-foot deep pool."
Just getting there again.
And then he described his own part. "I did 4 dives, almost 3 minutes each, in ice water."
Wow. 4 dives, nearly 3 minutes.
Yeah.
In ice water. That's
Yeah.
incredible commitment.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, that level of dedication is profound. And Heredia's motivation, he made it crystal clear.
What drove him?
He said, "But we couldn't wait. The families needed closure."
Ah, the families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just emphasizes that powerful human element behind these missions, right? It's not just a technical job.
No, it's deeply personal.
It's this deep, empathetic commitment to try and bring some kind of peace, some closure to the families who are just waiting in agony. It's an immense burden, physically and psychologically.
And that determination, it worked.
It did. They were successful.
When did they find them?
Around 9 p.m. on that Sunday, they located the bodies. Heredia then notified the sheriff's department.
And what happened next?
Well, this is something Heredia noted with real admiration. The officers immediately dispatched a team on foot.
At night, in the cold.
Yep. Despite the cold, the darkness, they went in right away to recover the deceased.
Yeah.
Heredia reflected on it, just saying, that's having heart.
It really is. Shows incredible dedication from everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Now, shifting focus a bit. The 3 men who were lost, they weren't just friends on an outing, were they?
No, they were more than that. They were active and vital members of the academic community.
Specifically connected to the International Circle of Genetic Studies, right?
That's correct. The organization actually released a very heartfelt statement.
Naming them.
Yes, naming the deceased, Dr. Matthew Schoenecker, Dr. Matthew Anthony, and Valkyrius, MS. And, of course, extending their deepest sympathies to the families.
And Valentino Crias. Val, he seemed like quite a character. There was a really touching tribute from a friend, Matt Meeks.
Yeah, I saw that.
Meeks wrote, "Val died as he lived, riding that river all the way to heaven alongside his friends."
Wow. Powerful.
It really is. And he shared this little anecdote, kind of capturing Val's spirit, his sense of adventure. Just pure, unadulterated joy at experiencing air conditioning in the Philippines after years without it.
That paints a picture.
It does, right. And looking back, it sort of underscores that very human desire for freedom, for spontaneity that often pulls us towards nature.
But it also highlights the flip side.
Exactly. It highlights that critical need to temper that impulse with, informed caution, even for people who really embrace life and adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. And building right on that point, in the aftermath of this tragedy, the Placer County authorities, they really doubled down on their warnings.
Trying to prevent this from happening again.
Exactly. Pushing a critical safety message that, honestly, needs to be heard far and wide, especially for anyone heading into the Sierras or similar areas.
What were the specific warnings?
Well, fundamentally, they warned against swimming or jumping into any natural water bodies in that region.
Especially the Sierra Nevada.
Particularly there, yeah, because the snowmelt keeps the water temperatures dangerously low, even deep into the summer months. It might be hot outside, but the water is frigid.
And it's not just about being cold, is it? There's a specific danger.
Oh,
Cold shock.
precisely. And it's crucial. People understand what cold shock actually is. It's not just feeling cold.
What happened?
It's an involuntary gasp reflex that happens within the first minute, often the first few seconds, of hitting that icy water.
An involuntary gasp.
Yeah, your body just does it. It's a primal response, and it can lead to you inhaling water immediately. Drowning can happen before you even really register how cold you are.
So it's incredibly fast.
Incredibly fast. And that's distinct from hypothermia.
Right. Hypothermia is slower.
Yeah, hypothermia is the gradual cooling of your body's core temperature over a longer period. It weakens you, makes swimming impossible eventually, but it takes time.
Both deadly, though.
Both absolutely deadly, but that immediate cold shock, that gasp reflex, that's often the silent killer in these kinds of rapid immersion incidents.
Wow. Okay. The sheriff's office had a pretty stark warning about it, too, didn't they?
They did. Very powerful words.
They said something like, "These natural bodies of water may look serene and inviting."
But they can quickly become fatal.
Chillingly accurate, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole deep dive into the tragedy at Rattlesnake Falls, it really just stands as this painful, sobering reminder, doesn't it?
It really does.
A reminder of the dangers that can be hidden right beneath the surface of nature's beauty.
Yeah, lurking just out of sight.
I mean, these hikers, they set out for an adventure, right? For maybe just a moment of spontaneity.
A simple way to cool off?
Yeah, and the consequences were just devastating. Final.
And it comes back to that idea that knowledge is really only valuable when it's truly understood and, importantly, applied.
Right, not just knowing it, but acting on it.
Exactly. This incident just underscores the absolute importance of respecting natural environments. Really understanding the real risks, the ones you can't always see.
Even when you're just looking for a bit of pleasure or peace.
Especially then, maybe. Because that's when your guard might be down.
That's a really good point. So, thinking about this, what does this deep dive maybe prompt you, our listener, to reconsider?
Yeah, about those places that look so beautiful, maybe seem harmless.
How do we, as people who love the outdoors, who seek adventure and that connection with nature, how do we balance that desire?
Balance it with that vital need for caution, for informed awareness.
Especially when the consequences, as we've seen here, can be just so incredibly profound.
It's a balance we all need to constantly think about, right? Every time we head out.
Definitely something to keep in mind.
How should public awareness be raised about the dangers of cold shock and hypothermia in natural water bodies? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.